Hello. This screencast is meant to explain for you how your evaluation is going to be determined for this school year. In the past, and most of you are familiar with this old evaluation matrix that was used to determine your overall rating for OTES. And remember, most of you know it was made up of two components. The teacher performance side, which is your observation and evaluation. In our case, it was from eye observation, and your student growth measure. And for most of us this year, that was either value added or shared attribution. Well, this evaluation matrix no longer exists. It has been changed, and it's been replaced by this evaluation framework. The important thing to keep in mind, one of the important things to keep in mind, is the two components have not changed. 50%, 50%, 50 comes from your student growth measure, 50 comes from what's in eye observation. Remember, this language here is OTES language. For us, accomplished is innovating, skilled is applying and developing, and an effective parallel the language nicely. So keep in mind as well, this is 600 points, but it's 50% of that. So the most you can get on student growth is 300 points. The most you can get over here is 300 points, because the entire final summative rating is at a maximum of 600 points. Don't get confused and think that this should be out of 1,200, because it's 50% and 50%. So let's go through a couple of scenarios here. In our district, we have different categories of teachers. We have some of you who are straight value added, others of you are doing SLOs, some of you are shared attribution, and we have a fourth category of teachers that also is some combination of this. So we're just going to stick with these three to start. So let's say that you're a value-added teacher and you recently received your value-added rating from the ODE, and you came across in the yellow as average. So that earns you 300 points, but remember, that's 50% of that 300 points, so you received 150 points. Some of you, at the end of this semester or at the end of this year, will score your SLOs. These numbers correspond nicely, just like they do with value added, to the scoring of your SLO, because if you look at the scoring of the SLO template, you'll notice that it also is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 scale. So you're going to score your SLOs, and let's say that on the first one you receive an above average. It comes out as a numerical rating of a 4, and let's say on the second one it's average and it came across as a 3. Well, you add those two numbers together, that's 7. You'll divide that by 2. That becomes a 3.5. Well, in this model, it always rounds up. So that 3.5 would round up to a 4. You'd receive 400 points. There's your two SLOs. Each were worth 25%. Remember, that's 50% of that, so there's your 200 points there. If you're a shared attribution teacher, based upon the value-added scores in your building, and your building received an average composite score, you received the 300 points, and 50% of that is 150. So there, based upon your student growth measure, is your 50%. But remember, you also have the 50%, which is your teacher performance side from eye observation. So let's say in eye observation you are a 3.0 in your IPS, and you received a skilled or applying rating. So that earns you 400 points. Remember, that's 50% of that 400, so that becomes 200. You have to add these numbers together to receive your final summative rating. So let's do that. So this, let's say we take this 150 and we add it here, and so now we have 350 points. This person becomes skilled according to OTES. Let's take this second example here. We have a above average on our student growth measure, and we have a shared attribution of, or I'm sorry, we have our teacher performance remain the same. So now we take 400 points here and we look it up. Again, that person comes across as skilled. And in our last example, it's going to be the same as our first one. We're going to have 350, and all of those equal, when you look it up here, it's going to come across as skilled. So remember, it can look daunting at first, but these ratings all correspond very nicely to value added and to our SLOs and to shared attribution. This language, innovating, applying, each is worth 50%, and here's your final summative rating. Thanks.